1996 in Australia. Manly and North Melbourne win their respective league premierships. Australia finishes 7th in the medal rankings at the Atlanta Olympics. John Howard became the Prime Minister. Dial-up internet was still a thing, and everybody is obsessed with the Macarena dance. It also was the year of Port Arthur, a tragedy that every Australian remembers. But hidden in the shadows of all that is a massacre that wiped out an entire family in Brisbane, Queensland. This was the Hillcrest murders. Today I'm here at the Mount Thompson Memorial Gardens here in Holland Park, Brisbane, to tell the story of and visit the final resting place of a family of 6. A family wiped out by a gutless, selfish coward who couldn't stand the consequences of his own violence. So let's take a walk, and I'll start from the beginning. Peter May met Helen Potter when she was just 16 at the Inala skating rink. What started as a teenage relationship moved fast and they moved in together. She fell pregnant and the two married in 1984. But married life was nothing like Helen imagined. For the next 12 years, she lived in what her family would later describe as a living hell. Peter was violent, controlling, addicted to gambling, and always involved in some kind of small-time scam. He ran a dodgy video store full of porn and violent tapes, claimed Centrelink while Helen still worked, and used anyone he could for money, including Helen's own parents. Jim and Rita Potter, both in their 60s, lived downstairs and paid Peter rent. Over 9 years they handed over more than $60,000. They stayed not because they had to, but because they wanted to protect Helen and the kids, even while living beneath a man they were terrified of. The children were scared of him too. Natalie, the youngest, hid under her bed when he yelled. Lisa, the eldest, would escape downstairs to her grandparents. And Andrew copped the worst of it. Peter tried to mold him into some twisted version of himself, punishing him whenever he didn't live up to that fantasy in his head. Meanwhile, Jim kept the baseball bat beside his bed, knowing full well it would never be enough against a man 20 years younger and constantly enraged. By late 1995, it finally hit breaking point. One stormy November night, Helen's family and friends spent almost 5 hours helping her and the kids secretly move out to a rental home in Hillcrest, in Logan in Brisbane, Queensland. She chose that house specifically because it had the best security she could find. Police served Peter May with a domestic violence order and seized his .22 rifle. His gun license was also cancelled, but none of that stopped him. Over the next few weeks, Peter began to put his life in order, not to fix it, but to end it on his own terms. He dealt with his fraud charges, adjusted his will to leave everything to an estranged sister, and spent hours at the Men's Rights Agency, marking their pamphlets like they were instructions for war. He managed to get supervised access to his children, and used that time to take them to hotels and casinos on a 2-week spending spree. To the kids, it looked like a fun holiday, but in reality, it was a final trip. On the 8th of January 1996, he spent about half an hour calling private investigators. He claimed he was tracking down a former employee and some bad debtors, but everyone knew exactly who he meant: Helen and her parents. When the investigator refused to illegally access Telstra or electricity records, Peter May snapped. Helen's family believed he found the Hillcrest address in the final days before the murders, likely through the only people still in contact with him, his best friend and that friend's partner, who had unknowingly helped Helen find the rental. The Winchester rifle he used is believed to come from an either innocent third party or one of his criminal associates. Just before 4 o'clock in the morning on January 25, 1996, Peter May loaded Andrew, Natalie, and Melissa into a rented Ford Fairlane. He drove them to Ellen Grove, in a quiet, empty residential street, in the dark. At around 3:50 a.m., residents reporting hearing a single gunshot. Police believe Andrew was taken out of the car first. Peter may have questioned him and grilled him one last time about where his mother was living before shooting him. That gunshot was one that the neighbors heard. Inside the car, the girls were terrified. May shot one daughter, then the other. He tried to wipe away the blood. He gave up, then covered them with a blanket. Then he vomited over the dashboard. From there, he drove straight to the Hillcrest house. Inside the house, Helen and her parents were already awake, laying out the school bags and uniforms for the new school year for the kids that was about to start in a few days' time. Peter ripped the screen off the window and climbed inside. He forced a rifle into Rita's mouth and fired. Jim tried to fight back, but he was beaten and shot as he tried to reach her. Helen tried to run. Police later found the sliding door open, but Peter dragged her back in. He pressed the rifle to her forehead and pulled the trigger. Then, he turned the gun on himself. Relatives later said that Helen was still breathing when the police arrived. She outlived him, barely, after 12 years of enduring his violence. 6 lives were gone in minutes, one of the worst family murder-suicides in Australian history. But with it happening just months before the Port Arthur massacre, it vanished under the weight of bigger national events. Within days, the headlines were gone. We're about to reach the final resting place here at the Mount Thompson Memorial Gardens. It's a family garden, the Potter Memorial Garden, where Helen, her 3 kids, Natalie, Andrew, and Lisa, and also her parents, Rita and Jim, are now laid to rest. May they all rest in peace.